Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Rackley and I am a sports management major here at NGU. And today I'm going to be telling you about an issue in sport and what can be done to help this issue among athletics and athletes. So to start off, I'm going to give you a statistic from the University of Kansas Health. And it says that cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death among young athletes in the United States. And this results in a death about once every 3 days on the court, field, or wherever the competition's happening. So, kind of my credibility with this is I lost my dad last year to hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a heart disease that he did not know that he had. And because of this, before I started playing tennis at NGU, I had an EKG done on my heart and found out that I have the same heart disease, which results in me having to monitor what I'm doing in competition and just keep an eye on my heart. So my first point is just going to be about what cardiac arrest is and kind of how it affects our bodies during exercise and how our heart's affected during exercise. So cardiac arrest is defined as the stopping of one's heart and the flow of blood to an individual's brain and major organs. When cardiac arrest occurs, especially among an athlete, the person will often lose consciousness and stop breathing, and their heart will stop beating. Before it happens, when an athlete is competing, they may experience symptoms such as dizziness, shortness of breath, or chest pain, which these are all symptoms of exhaustion too and just being tired. So a lot of people don't realize that they're happening, which is another reason it's an issue because nothing can be done to help. So a lot of people believe that working out is always a good thing. There's no negative consequences. If I'm staying fit and working out every day, my heart muscles are healthy, and that's not always the case. So when it does occur, so whenever you are working out a lot, your heart muscles will begin to thicken, and this can lead to rhythm disorders and long-term damage, especially if you're working out excessively and just competing a lot and you're getting 3 workouts in a day. It can just cause a lot of long-term damage. So now that we've kind of talked about what cardiac arrest is and how it affects our body, let's move on to the different sports that experience a lot of cardiac complications and examples of this in real life and among professional sports. So according to the American Journal of Medicine, the top 5 sports that experience cardiac death are basketball, football, track, baseball, and softball. An example of this seen in basketball is with former Boston Celtics player Reggie Lewis. In April of 1993, he was running on the court playing in a big playoff game when he collapsed and hit the floor. There was no one around him, so it was very unusual, and they later found out that he had collapsed because of a heart condition that he never knew that he had. He stayed in the hospital for a little while with this, and then 3 months later, when he was out shooting on the courts, he had a heart attack and later passed away. Another example of this is seen in the MLB. On November 27th in 2007, former Blue Jay pitcher Joe Kennedy collapsed and died of cardiac arrest as well at the age of 27. This was also very uncommon. He had no symptoms or anything in that matter and had no prior knowledge of a lasting heart condition in him or his family. Both of these cardiac complications could have potentially been avoided if the athletes would have had to have EKG testing prior to competing. The EKG test could have caught anything from rhythm disorders to a thickened heart muscle, anything along those lines. So again, all of this could have been avoided if only an EKG was ran in the physical, and instead of just generic questions or generic squats and weight and fevers, those kinds of things in the physical. So again, now that you've kind of seen 2 former athletes and the damage done with cardiac complications and how they passed away. Let's move on to my third point and just kind of see how if EKG testing was done on all athletes, it could potentially save tons of lives on the court or field. So an EKG is an electrocardiogram, and this is sometimes obviously called an EKG. So again, if this was added to the pre-competition exam, they could catch the heart rhythms because the test looks at heart electrical waves, therefore catching any heart defects that are present before the athlete begins to compete. And if something is caught with the EKG, the athlete can then monitor what's going on when he or she is working out. They can keep an Apple Watch on that would alert them with high heart rhythms, or they can wear a little band on their arm that also tracks it. So again, with an EKG, it can just be the odds of athletes everywhere can be improved, and it's simple as a 1 hour, 2 hour test at the hospital or at the doctor's office, and most insurances will also cover it, so there's really no reason it shouldn't be done. But those are my 3 points. So today I told you about what cardiac arrest is, how it affects our bodies, examples of cardiac arrest in athletes, and how EKG testing could prevent deaths in athletics. So I do recommend, if you are an athlete, to go out and get an EKG test done, because you may detect a heart disease that you never knew that you had, and you could save problems whenever you're competing by going and getting that tested. And to end, another statistic that I found was, on average, every 3 days in the United States, a competitive athlete experiences a sudden cardiac death, or an SCD for short. With the knowledge of cardiac arrest, the cardiac risk, more precautions in place, and just knowing the symptoms of it, this could be prevented, especially among athletes. And technical difficulty. One of the most common issues among sports is concussions, but those are survivable, whereas cardiac complications are not normally. So again, with EKG testing done, it could just save a lot of trouble in the future, especially in athletics. So that's it.